ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
Wow. Great intro. I love that. That's everything that I'm about. Everything that your intro is about, I'm about. I love it.
Wow. And this is why you're here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And this is going to be an amazing conversation. And hello to whoever just commented. And this is going to be a live interactive. Hey, Peter, welcome. It's going to be an amazing, powerful, magical conversation here. And thank you. Thank you. The intro is pretty fun.
Thanks, y'all.
So, welcome to another episode of our Daily Magic Podcast. And like our intro said, we all are magical as fuck. And what we love to have on these conversations is magical conversations with other magical beings, so that one, you can see how magic is infinite, magic can get expressed in so many different ways. But our intention with this is you can be able to take what resonates with you from this conversation, so that way you can integrate more of your magic, not only in your inner world, but to bring it out for this outer world. So I am truly excited for this conversation, and obviously Kai is going to give the formal introduction of our amazing guests. And I came across this man from watching Buddha at the Gas Pump.
Back Gap.
Thank you, Rick Archer. And just his message and the way that he expresses his magic. I'm trying to put infinite into finite words. It's always so hard to do it, but you'll see. Buckle your seat, get ready for this experience, and listen to this with your full beingness in this moment. And we're going to have a magical conversation together and have your comments, bring some questions. This is going to be a live interaction, and we're just going to see what this moment has to unfold for us being here. So I am one part of the magical host, Dell.
And my name is Kai, and I have the honor and pleasure of introducing Marc Levitt. Marc was born into a non-practicing Jewish family. The subject of religion or spirituality never came up in his family, so when he discovered a spiritual yearning within himself at the age of 20, he was completely on his own. He graduated from Towson University with a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology and philosophy in 1994. And while in college, he had become an avid practitioner of meditation and met his wife-to-be. He had become a serious yet self-taught student of Eastern philosophy, particularly Zen and how do you pronounce this, Marc?
Dzogchen.
Dzogchen. and had found the perfect career that would allow him to continue his studies while working. So in 1997, he trained at Johns Hopkins University Hospital to run sleep studies, and he continued to work as a registered polysomnograph technologist for the next 25 years. Wow. Welcome, Marc.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so happy for the theme of magic, especially in these times. I'm so happy that's the theme today, or every day for you.
Yeah.
And it being daily magic. What struck me when I listened to that was the first thing that I was reminded of when and again, you reminded me of when you read my intro. I grew up in a world that was devoid of any magic. I didn't believe in magic in any way. And what I mean by that was I never thought anything amazing could happen. I thought we lived in such a tightly controlled world where nothing novel could happen. Nothing. I believed my experience belief. Whenever I'd read about novel events, I always had a limited belief that nothing novel could ever happen to me. Whether, at my age, being a child, whether it be seeing a ghost or a UFO or, any of the things that you hear of at the time, I remember always thinking, that'll never happen to me. I'll never have anything magical. I wanted it so bad. I always wanted something out of the norm because the world that I'm 50. Oh gosh, I was born in 1969, so I'm 50 something, 52, let's say. I don't know. But the reason I point out my age is because I really grew up before the internet, before we really knew anything about the world, how magical it actually is. So I thought I lived up. The world that I lived in isn't the world that matched up to my experience. I expected magic, or I was disappointed there was magic. I knew there was something limiting. I knew there was the potential for magic, but I thought it was something that would always elude my grasp, or be too elusive for me. And like I said, all I mean by magic in that sense, the world was very predictable. Grow up, join the corporate world. The world's like this. The world's very solid. The world's very, we know what we're doing. We got a plan. Just believe in the plan and do it, and you'll be okay. And anything outside the bounds is, unacceptable. So as I listened to your intro, I was reminded that I lived in the world where I believed that magic was impossible, or at least not for me. I believed it was at least possible, just not for me. It was too elusive, and you either had to just be one of the lucky ones that, were there for something amazing. But I just thought it would always be beyond my grasp. So I just wanted to say that as an intro.
Yeah, thank you. We're here talking about how we can actually cultivate it consciously, right?
Yes.
Magic is not something that has to be experienced on a, once in a blue moon, or like you said, when luck strikes or the stars are aligned. Yes. It's something that can be very much a part of our daily lives. And I actually had to correct myself the other day by making a post on Facebook saying that I don't believe in magic. I don't. I know it to be true.
Yeah.
We can only believe in things that we don't know to be true.
Yes. And what I think that is that the world's alive. I think that's the magic that we sense, is that the world is alive, that the world that we're living in, it is living. It's not some dead thing that, like I said, at least I felt like I was brought up to believe in, that the world was some static thing, get a job, do this thing, work within the bounds of what the world was giving you. And, to dovetail back into my story started right around when I was in college age, when I was expected to, go into adulthood. Now you're going from the age where you're basically, I don't want to say a victim, but you're a subject of the world. You're just a small person that's a subject of the world, and now you're expecting to act upon the world. So as a child, not a victim, but you're acted upon. So as a child, you're basically acted upon and you're led around. And so that awkward age of college age, where you're expected, basically my parents said, you either have to go to college, because I did not want to go to college. I had no idea what I wanted to do, or you're kicked out of the house. They said, you got to do something. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But anyway, what I knew I wanted to do was figure out, what is this thing called life? You're asking me to go into it and decide what I want to do. and I don't even know what this thing is. And I don't feel like anybody does. And all of a sudden I started to think about it. I was like, it's really weird that we've never really been given instructions. And like I said, I came from a non-practicing Jewish family. So if you came up in a Christian family or a traditional religious family, then you did feel like you had that thing of, this is what the world's about. Here's the book. These are the rules. This is the philosophy of where we came from. So maybe everybody didn't have that. I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe everybody didn't have what I had, which is the experience of, what is this? Like, where are we? Like, first of all, before I decide what I want to do with my life and where I want to, place my passions, where are we? What is this? And what should we be doing? That was the thing that I don't want to say bugged me, but was right under me. Like, I feel like we should be doing something purposeful. What's the meaning? We're just here. We're put here. We find ourselves here. We just find ourselves here, and no one knows what we're doing. Like I said, I knew religions were out there. I knew different, because of my background of not having a particular religion, I just saw multiple religions. So when you see multiple religions, you just see a lot of different opinions. So none of them really mean anything. It's just a lot of different people saying different things, and none of them have really any more importance than any of them, because just a lot of different people saying kind of the same thing. But anyway, my drive was, what is this? Where are we? And what should we be doing? And so that's when I started to look into, because I had to go to school, I looked into astronomy. Like I said, my question was, where are we? What is this place? I really wanted to know, what is this place we find ourselves in? So I studied astronomy, and I found that astronomy was really just a study of physics, and it was not really what I wanted. What I wanted was something deeper than physics. So I figured, if outer space was not the answer, let me turn it around to inner space. So I looked inward. I figured the answer had to be inside. So I studied psychology. That was my degree in psychology, which obviously led into philosophy. But the magic and the experience did not begin to manifest until the meditation came into my life. And that probably came into my life just by accident. Eastern philosophy professor I had, I took a course in karma and reincarnation, and just learned about these things casually. But the silence and the stillness, the actual experience of the meditation, was the first bit of that magic that I knew, that I finally knew, oh my God, there is something beyond this world. There is something beyond this mundane physical world of beliefs and stories and just paradigms, just overall paradigms and beliefs that we haven't examined ourselves. So anyway, meditation for me, the experience of meditation, the stillness of meditation, brought about experiences within myself that were real, raw, authentic, that were realer than the world that I knew. I had doubts about the world, just because, like I said, I didn't really understand what it was. We just find myself here. However, with the meditation and the stillness, I found that was something that I recognized. There's something deeper there, that this is familiar. It's unknown, but it's familiar. It's new, but it's familiar. It's familiar in a way that's realer than me. It's realer than the world. I trust it more than this world. So that became my beacon. And I just searched for that stillness. I just wanted more and more that realness, that rawness of whatever is real. When you let everything go away, what is left? And my meditation that I practice to this day, because obviously you go on YouTube, you'll find infinite forms of meditation, especially if you're non-duality, who am I? Questions like that. For me, I'm just looking for my basic experience. Last time I talked to Dell, the reason I like Dell is because he also used the word essence. And for me, everything that I'm interested in is just the essence. And that's, to me, what meditation was. That's the magic, the essence. The magic is the essence that underlies everything. But we're so busy with our minds, we're so busy with our wants and our fears, that we overlook our simple essence. And our essence is always there. And it's so simple. And because it's always there, because it's infinite, we take it for granted. But that is the magic. And we're unaware of the magic because of the busyness of the world, but the magic really is just that underlying essence that's always there, but we ignore due to the natural pulls in life, or fears, or wants. All these things pull us away from this magic. So it's ironic. The things that we want, silver, gold, possessions, earthly things, they pale in comparison to the gift that we always have, which is our essence, which is that magic. And before I stop on my little ramble, I just want to say something that I always say to my wife. The reason it's so hard for us not to see this is because we infuse our experiences. So let's say Phil Jackson, a Zen master, a coach, the coach of Chicago Bulls, wrote about Michael Jordan, how Michael Jordan was a perfect example of Zen, that he was in the moment. But the thing that we could mistake about these moments, like let's say Michael Jordan, victory, winning, hitting the shot, everything beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we associate the winning with that good feeling, but it's the essence underneath. It's the release of the desire. So all we are is going through life with a constant desire for something, and a release of that desire. And when we have the release of that desire, or the attainment of that desire, we're finally experiencing our essence. And so we call that joy, and we associate that with hitting the winning shot, or doing something great, eating the delicious pie, or accomplishing your work, whatever you did. But really, actually, all you did was you just experienced your essence once that desire was met. Once that desire was met, you relaxed into your essence, and you associate that joy with whatever thing you got, whatever thing you ate, whatever accomplishment you had. So it's natural for us to want to repeat these things and go after the same thing, go after another winning shot, go after another piece of apple pie, go after more sex, go after more ambitions, whatever it is, because you do get these highs from it. But the high is really just the release of that desire, of the wanting. So you can have the essence of the highest joy at any time, and it's just the absence of the desire. It's the release of the desire and settling back into naturalness. That's what we really love. But the only times that we know that is feelings of success. Once we attain that desire, we feel great, but it's not the thing. It's the essence of just the release of that desire being attained, like a waveform rising up and then finally falling down. So I want to point that out, that it's natural. Why we look out for these earthly things instead of our true essence. And I'm rambling, so I want to pass it back to you guys so you could,
Yes. You're speaking my language.
I knew it. I know. I remember our last talk very well.
Yeah. And that fix, like you're saying, those temporary highs from achieving those things over and over again, getting that person you're in a relationship with, or getting that job, whatever that external thing that you've been yearning for, and you get it, and then you feel that moment, and then it goes away. And then,
yes.
Okay, I gotta get more. I gotta find more. As opposed to asking the question like, oh, where did that feeling come from? Did it come outside of me? Was it like an outside thing that like that feeling is like right here in front of me, like in this thing, or did that thing outside of you reflect what was going on inside of you? But the mind feels like, okay, this gave me the experience, so I gotta have more of this.
Yep. And I love how you say it was already inside of you. It was nothing new came to you. It was already there. That essence, that joy, it's already there. Nothing new could be added. It was already there. Just recognize. That's what it is. I think that's what we talked about last time. My emphasis is just on recognition. My practice is just on recognition. That's all there is just recognition. It's already there. There's nothing to be added. There's nothing to be worked on. There's just recognizing what's already there. And I know how difficult it could be not to, just because of difficulties that are going on in my life right now. My wife is going through a lot of issues. Her family's going through a lot of issues. My dog, I see the turmoil so much around me. It's it's real. it's palpable. And the way I explain it to people I talk to is the way I look at it is we're all going through the same thing. It's like the sun is beating down on us equally, and it's affecting us in all of our unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
But all of us right now, the sun is it's like the sun is beaten intensely, and everyone's being affected, and we're all experiencing it with our unique ways. So, if you're a plant, the sun's going to be affecting you one way. For a piece of plastic, it's going to be affecting you another way. But basically, we're all being exposed to the same intenseness, the pressure right now. And it's palpable. But what I see is this is like a galvanizing, almost like a vortex that drives you to essence, that drives you to simplicity, because you're finding out there is no comfort in this world. There is nothing you could rely on out here. There is no way you could arrange the world in a perfect way to make you happy. It has to come from inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all we have right now is just the thinking if we could arrange things a certain way, that could make me happy. And that's what we're all learning. We can't. We're powerless. And my thing that I want to, if I have one message to share with everybody, is that for these times especially, and because right now the temptation that everybody's in is to try to control the world in whatever way you deem, whether you're a vegetarian, try to control it that way, or Democrat, or whatever your ideology is. We want to impose that upon the world, and that's natural. That's what we're all doing. That's the 99.9% path. But the path that I really feel like is the only way out is, instead of trying to control the world, instead train your mind so you could live in a world controlled by anybody. That's it. That's really the only thing. Train your mind so you could live in any conditions. And that's what I've learned lately. And that's why also I've been going through a hard time too, is I've realized how attached to conditions I am. And as a student, as a practitioner, that's all I notice. That's all I notice is my attachments and my desires. And because of the switch, the last time we talked, I told you I quit my job. I, gave up everything, sold our house. We did everything. We moved out. Wow. And I put it all into the becoming a crypto trader. And as you know, with the world, with the crypto, everything's up crashing and everything. I'm realizing how conditional my the attachments are. And so to me, that's the only thing that matters, is to not look for all the things that are going to tell you how great you are and how wonderful, but look for the things in your practice that are your weak parts, so you recognize it. And that's all I'm looking for, is just recognition. And to not be afraid of anything, not be ashamed of anything, only look for what's there. And if you recognize you have, what I like, for me, I noticed it's conditional. My happiness is based on the conditions, and that goes against my practice. So I'm just recognizing it. And, in my practice is not, by the way, Dzogchen, that word that you asked me to repeat. Dzogchen basically just is relaxing into what already is. So you're not trying to force anything. You're not trying to say, it's basically a non-meditation. It's not the thought, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. It's just noticing what's actually happening. So I'm noticing what's actually happening. It, for me, is a lot of attachments, a lot of conditions, a lot of fear, and very subtle, by the way. You know what I mean? It's all very subtle. You really just have to always be aware of yourself. And if you notice any dis-ease, discomfort about, just examine it. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just you and your conscious. You're not, all right. I haven't talked much about my the book or anything, but the three things that I have in the book that are part of the foundation of all practice, is number one, just brutal honesty with yourself. And that's what I'm talking about now. Just living with complete brutal honesty with yourself. How am I feeling? How am I doing? Is there tension? Am I feeling an internal battle, whatever? The second thing is the insight you get from that, the recognition from that. The yes, I am feeling tense. I am feeling afraid. I am feeling desirous, whatever you're feeling. And then the third is just dropping it in the confidence to go on, not to feel ashamed, not to feel that it shouldn't be, not to feel that it should be corrected. You're just taking note of what's actually there, and you just recognize it and let your body, let your let your body and your mind go on as it is, and without you trying to control it. But again, I don't want to get too far away from you guys. So
we're gonna pick up. We're gonna pick up there and go a little deeper because I actually have a good question for you. But
yes,
before we go there, I wanted to mention attachment, which is synchronistic, because I just said to my wife last week of me being the observer of myself and bring more awareness. I realized that I'm still attached to her. And
we can't be attached to Marc Levitt either.
Yeah, you see that? How detached. So in the meantime, I'll share this story of the attachment and the attachment I had towards Kai, and the attachment was her being here for me a certain way. And when I'm not having her being here for me a certain way, this part of me from my childhood actually came up, this childhood belief of feeling like, oh, she needs to be this way for me. I need all the attention. And the reason being was her attention was actually starting to shift more towards her and actually things she wanted to do. And this part of me came up. But the thing about it was usually when a trigger like that happened, I would, I'll continue the story. I'll wait for you. Oh, are you back? You good to go? Oh, you're muted. There's no volume. Don't hear anything. Let's see. Is the audio there's no audio. And people who are live, if you can hear us, let us know, because I just want to make sure that audio is still going. Give us a thumbs up in the comments or things like that if you can hear us, or if you hear Marc, if you can't hear Marc. Okay. And Peter, can you hear? Oh, you can hear us. Okay. Can you hear Marc when he was talking or no? Because I can't hear.
Okay.
Okay. We can't hear you, Marc. Okay. There we go. Going back. So I'm going to wait to share the rest of that story, because I definitely want to hold the space with Marc with that, because he actually was talking about he was talking with Marc. With Marc, he was in his book, and then also he was sharing about is the process of losing attachment to things in life, and that allows you to live a more peaceful life, because attachment leads to suffering, and which is valid. If we're attached to something and attached to something happen a certain way, and we're still attached to that, and then when life presents something else and we're still attached to it happen a certain way, we're going to suffer because we're fighting against what life, here, this is what is presented in front of you, type of thing. So the attachment, but it's good because, like, for me with life, with situations that come up, instead of not judging it or beating yourself up, get curious with it and use it as a catalyst to catapult yourself to a deeper awareness of your essence, because it's all like a key to bring you there. That's how I feel. So I use those little moments. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that's still there. But then life presented that, but it's not like responding from the condition, but being aware of the condition that's happening and start to shift it and work with it and stuff like that. And even having a space to actually share that authentically with my wife, who just received it.
Yeah. And Peter's asking an interesting question. He says, is there positive attachment?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Now it says the mic is working.
There we go.
I don't know why, but now it says the mic is working, so hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay. I just went in and went out again. Not sure what the problem is. I won't touch things.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All right, Dell. It's interesting. I want to hear your story because that actually ties in with something again with my wife. That was my revelation about how I realized that I have attachments was through my wife too. So I'm curious to hear your story, unless you just told it.
Yeah. I was telling the story and then I stopped. I was like, I want Mark to come back as well, just so I can hear your perspective and obviously my wife's perspective as well. But I was saying how I brought some I became aware that I still had some attachments towards her in the form of receiving attention from her. And for me, I had this story behind myself in this conditioning with me being the baby of my family. I'm the center of attention. So being the center of attention, I would get attention when I wanted to. And when I didn't get attention, I would do something to get attention. So my wife started to give attention more to the stuff that she preferred, and it wasn't me. And this part of me came up of feeling that type of way, that childhood part of me. But instead of me becoming the role of that part of me and living life and responding to her in that way, I actually sat with it and became aware of it. And on a deeper level, it was, oh, I'm attached to her giving me attention. And when I feel like she doesn't give me attention, I felt insecure. But then on a deeper level, I felt insecure because I wasn't giving myself attention. And I just sat with it. I didn't judge it. I had a conversation with her about it as well. And that was the beauty of that's the beauty of our relationship where we're at right now, is when moments like that arises. And this is 7 years of us doing our work and stuff. We can be able to have a conversation about this. And what she does so lovely is she holds space for me. She doesn't like comfort me or try to like, what's it called? Coddle me and things like that. She actually allows me a space to process what's happening and to receive it with love.
Yes. I could relate to that so much. And I loved how what you did was sit with it, because that is the highest practice you could do, is to actually wait for something. That's exactly what I was talking. That's the spirit of which I was talking about. Is your practice is just to go through life, enjoy your attentiveness, your presence, and then when your mind pulls something up, like you said about your wife or a story or something like that, you go into it. That instead of pushing it away or saying, "Oh, that's a thought I shouldn't be having," oh, you're curious. What is this? And you just look into it and you examine it, and it turns out to be emptiness. Whatever you look into, you find out there's nothing there. It's insubstantial. It's not what you thought it was. It's ungraspable. It's ephemeral. That's a story that you're making. And that's why. But we're afraid to do that, and that's why I'm so happy for you that you're not. That is your instinct. That when you notice something within you, a dis-ease about yourself, you examine that. What is that? Oh, I'm noticing an attachment to my wife. An attachment. That's unhealthy for your practice, for your peace. So let's look at this attachment. What is this fear? You go into it. You see, and it's like when we're children, we have the monster in the closet, and we're afraid to open it up. So as the more time you spend at monster gets bigger and bigger. But you pointed out, I think, the essence that I found to be everything. And even now that I've started the crypto trading and I'm listening to the trading, the psychology, it's all the same thing as basic psychology. It's all the same thing as Buddhism. It's all the same thing as sports psychology. It's all the same as anyone that studies the mind discovers the same thing, which is what you just touched upon. This is what is at the heart of all of our addictions, all of our suffering, all of our losing, whether it be at sports or whether it be at trading or whether it be because the trading, the stock trading I'm talking about, it's you against yourself. It's not really you against the market. It's you in your mind. It's you against yourself. So the one thing that I've noticed they all have in common is this is what everything starts from. We have a childhood experience a pure childhood experience where we all start from our pure childhood experience, where we had that purity of freedom, and we're playing, and the world is our creative landscape. Listen, it's boundless, and we have this feeling of unbounded creativity, and then we have the experience of it being taken away. Whether it's your parents saying, "Stop taking out, stop playing the toys," or time to go to bed, or whatever it is, we all have that childhood feeling of first having something unbounded and then it taking away, and we spend the rest of our lives trying to avoid it. That's all we're trying to do, is try to avoid that feeling of that wonderful thing of being free and open and having everything there, and then it being stopped. And that's why in trading, let's say, you would lose, because the minute you lose, you start to revenge trade, and you're not making right
We
decisions.
lost your audio again, Mark.
You're on your ego. Oh, did we lose audio again?
I think it's our fault, though.
Oh, okay. Well, not that it makes any difference. But yeah, tell me when we're restored.
What's happening?
Oh, I'll keep talking just to see, so you could know what. I'll just keep talking.
We're back.
Okay, very good. How far should I go back?
Avoiding that feeling of having it taken away.
Oh, that's it then. Yes. That I got everything out that I wanted to say. That's all we're trying to do our whole lives. We're trying to avoid that feeling of having something and taking it away. And that's all we're doing. And then we get frustrated. So you keep trying to grasp and you try to hold on. But as I was saying, what Dell was practicing is, when you examine everything, you find it's nothing there. It dissolves anything that you examine.
I'd love to piggyback off of that and also give an answer to Peter's question, which is there a positive attachment? And I believe that positive attachment is intention. And there was this phrase that I wrote down. I can't say that I know where it came from, but it really resonated with me when I wrote it. And it said that your intention to unravel all of the mysteries of the universe will simply reveal your intention to unravel all of the mysteries of the universe.
Love it. Absolutely. Love it. Absolutely. And that goes back to everything that I've always said. We're always getting what we want. You just have to be honest with you about what you want. That was one of my first videos I ever made, is we're all getting what we want. You just have to really look at what you want. And if spirituality is what you want, then that's what you're naturally going to be doing. No one has to tell you. No one has to coax you. No one has to pressure you, or what do you call it? What do you call when you invite somebody, you seduce somebody into it? None of that has to be. You could just be a hunger, like you said, from within, which again, I like that word, a positive attachment. It's something that you just, here's something I would piggyback on your piggyback. When he said, is there anything such as positive attachment? I'd say absolutely. And a Zen way of saying that, or a Dzogchen way of saying that, who's very big into non-practice and non-meditation, what they'd say is, you're always practicing something anyway. You might as well practice this. You see what I'm saying? You're always practicing. So yes, you're always doing something. So you might as well make it positive. So absolutely, I love it. Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah.
See, but this is the piggyback here. So
yes,
where my
yeah.
I'm a piggyback off of you.
And because it's the same vine, it's the same vine. It's the same thing of just that. That in Buddhism, it's called bodhicitta. It means the desire for truth. It's something that springs from within you. You just want to know truth. And truth could mean anything. Like for me, like I said, truth for me was, where are we? What is this? Truth for you could be, who am I? What is this? Or, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just that curiosity, I guess I could say, that childlike, basically curiosity of what is this? Right.
Yeah. I came from a perspective of studying architecture, and then I wanted to do my postgraduate in metaphysics. I'm like, oh, okay, I get the structure, but now I want to understand the space. And life gave me that experience of studying metaphysics, and actually now I'm in a PhD program for quantum medicine. But what Dell was experiencing, I feel like I was experiencing in the opposite inverse. As you were becoming more aware of the attachment that you had to me, I was becoming aware of my attachment, of how I was giving myself attention. I realized that I could not be in a vacuum to do self-care. I can give myself attention through others.
Yes, absolutely. The multidimensional aspect, exactly. The outer meets the inner. You could meet them there. The inseparability of actually meeting them there. And that is the heart of compassion. That's basically seeing the other as you, and the inseparability between them and you. That helping yourself, helping them. Going in is going without. And I love it. Yes, I see that.
Yeah, and that's our relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, it's because it's always a mirror, and that's why I like you. I love how you use the word inverse, because it's always a mirror. I just had like I said, my wife was going through a really hard time with family stuff that she was having, and that's the reason I say it was her hard time and not me, because it's more of her family, so it's second for me. But that is exactly oh, okay, yes, that's exactly what the lesson for me is. Spontaneously, I was giving her my best advice, just spontaneously. And then within a day or two, I just realized in my own world, all the advice I was giving her was actually to me. In the moment, I truly did think it was for her, and I was saying this, and this is what's necessary, and this is what you do. It was only a couple days when I, realized my own dis-ease, my own, perturbance in the force, that, oh, wow, every single bit of advice I was giving her, that's me. And that's when you start to see it's a mirror. It's the inverse. It's always been like that. My wife we've been married for almost over 25 years. She was the first realization that I had that all the things that I complain about you or tell you that you should do, it's only a matter of moments later till I realize it's actually about me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how fast you realize them. That when you're paying attention to yourself, that you could see, and sometimes it's even instantly, you could see that. But there is that inverse thing, which is why the opposites attract, which is why I mean, my first girlfriend at our yearbook, it was called. We won the award for the most opposite couple, or whatever that is, the oddest couple. Yeah, the oddest couple, the oddest couple. So there is something there to that inverse, to what because you got to think, it's like the Enneagram. It's like what we're seeking is what we lack, and then what other people are lacking is what we seek, and that's what draws us to each other. These both strengths that we have, which are kind of our future and our past. Like I said, our multidimensional selves, because we are all these things, but we're just experiencing ourselves in this moment right now. But we have a huge past. We have an ancestral past. We have a karmic past, a lineage past, and then our relationships is where these things meet. And that was my epiphany I just had, going back to what Dell was talking about, when he was talking about his realization through you, how he was realizing how attached he was. I had the same thing when I had the epiphany. I wouldn't care about any of this. Remember, I was the thing with the stock market and the trading and everything. I said I wouldn't care about any of this if it wasn't for her, because I don't care about money. I don't care about. It's all just a big void to me. But for my wife, I realized that's why I do care. And so that was a huge epiphany for me, because for me, the realization was how much as I do see her as outside me, because the way I view the world is outside me. Everything is me. Everything. I'm the space for everything. So you're me. I'm me. Everything is encompassed. So when I had to face up to my recognition is, you're stressing out because you see her as outside you. You don't see your wife as you. You see her as outside you because your wife doesn't exist. You have no problem with any of this. But because your wife does exist, you have to acknowledge I'm sorry, because you're honest with yourself to admit that the only reason you even care about any of these things that are going on is because of your wife. That to me is just a flash that I don't see the world uh, um, as I'm sorry. I am seeing otherness in the world, which I don't recognize. I see most of the time. I really don't recognize that I'm seeing otherness. I just see the world. But when you have experiences like that, you realize I'm really causing a huge separation. So that's why relationships are great. That's why relationships are the hardest things for people to do, not just marriage relationships, but relationships at work, relationships with your boss, relationships with your family, relationships with neighbors. I mean, it's the hardest thing because it's ourself. We're really dealing with ourself and the unprocessed parts of ourself that we could only see in the other. That's the part that hasn't. I don't understand it, so I see it as otherness because it hasn't been fully integrated. So it's missing in me. What's my weak spots, my blind spots, is what I see in the world, and my practice is just to recognize it. And I recognize it through my dislikes, through any disease, anything that I'm, um, you know. And I have my phone plugged in, but it's still shrinking down. Just to warn you guys, but I got it plugged in, and for some reason, it's still going down. But anyway.
All good.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
This is great. What you're saying, the acknowledgement of the conjunction that we're using is: Are we living in an and world? Are we living in an or world?
Mm-hmm.
Are we living? What is that conjunction? There was a person we were talking about who says, "Live your dash." It says 19, whatever, to, being that dash. And you get to the present, or whenever it is that person passed away. But what happens during that dash? What is that conjunction that goes in there that brings those two pieces of the bread together?
I love it. Absolutely. And that's what I think our relationships are. And that's the thing is we define them. I mean, one thing I remind ourselves or remind myself, anyone I talk to, we're living in an infinite world of infinite possibilities. And it's easy. And I just really realized this yesterday as I was driving into town because I don't really watch the news or pay attention to what's going on. And I haven't worked in an office for a long time. And I just realized when I was out, um, uh, riding my bicycle, there was a huge news event that everyone was galvanized upon. And I just realized that's what we do as societal animals is we acculturate ourselves to certain beliefs. And then we have to, galvanize ourselves in these positions to show our identity. I'm on this side. I'm on this tribe. I identify with this, and we want to, show that we're a part of it. And it's a whole other layer of cultural conditioning that we don't have to participate in. That you don't. It's an option, and it's only there as with all options. There's so many trappings in life. There are so many different things that you could be obsessed with, and all they are is just invitations. And I just realized that as I was driving around, just free in my own world of not defining things, not defining things. Let's say, or indulging your beliefs, because that's the thing that I recognize is we all have beliefs. I have beliefs, but the difference is I don't believe my beliefs. I recognize my beliefs and I try not to attach to my beliefs, and I recognize they're just beliefs that were controlled by my past and society and all the outside things. But I don't believe any of my beliefs. I just noticed that they're there, and I guess my point is that all these things are options. We could focus our attention, we could focus our intention, as you pointed out, anywhere we want. And what you're attracted to, that's where you're going to find yourself. And I think what we're all having is an invitation to allow ourselves to recognize this deeper part of ourselves that's always been there all along, and we all recognize it. And we not only do we recognize it, but we recognize it as something deeper than whatever is given to us in the external reality. And I just think that we're all being driven there right now because of the conditions are so limiting. That's what I think. I think the conditions are so limiting. It's like a squeeze. It's almost forcing people to go within, because the less you're finding comfort in the world, the more you're going to have to come back within. So one way or another, like there's this popular movie my daughter just showed me on Netflix. It's called Don't Look Up. And it's basically about, okay, so you know what it's about. Everyone wants to ignore the global impending doom that's going on. It's the same thing about don't look in. Don't look in. Everyone's looking out. Everyone's looking out at the world, but there's this thing of don't look in. And don't look in is where we are, what you're seeing the world from. We're trained and we're forced, through the world to just look out. Everything's out there. And what the spiritual invitation is instead, no, look in. Everyone's just trying to say, don't look in, don't look in, look out, look out, look out there. Nothing's out there. You're never going to find nothing out there but disappointment and dissatisfaction. Instead, look in. And that's it. Whatever is worthwhile is going to be within, because what's within is what's actual, what stays, what remains, what doesn't change. What's within is what doesn't change. What's without changes constantly. Impermanent, constant change of flux. What's within, unchanging, unmoving, unchanging, unbounded. What you're looking at, outwards, colors, shapes, form, everything. Look in, no color, no shape, no form, no beginning, no ending. Outward, beginnings, endings everywhere. Look, beginning, ending. Everything's beginning, endings. Back, look in, no beginning, no ending. Constant presence. And that's our magic. That is our magic.
That is so true. I so resonate with that.
It's so important. It's so important. But that's the thing, is it's just unrecognizable. And it's just silence. I'm not talking about anything mystical. I'm not talking about anything foreign. Just silence. Just looking into your basic experience. What is actually here? When you put everything away, what's actually here? And that's the only thing that's real. When you look, what's actually here, and we could use words like voidness or emptiness. But you would never say the word empty without clarity and emptiness, because it's aliveness. It's a live emptiness. If you want to call it a void, it would be a raging void. It would be alive. It would be, potential in quantum physics. You mentioned quantum physics. Potential, just pure potential. Just pure potential. It's nothing, but it's pure potential. Just pure potential. Nothing. It's formless, it's shapeless, it's colorless, but pure potential. So it's far from nothing in the way that we traditionally think of nothing, but it is nothing in the strictest sense that it's no thing. It's not measurable. No beginning, no shape, no color, but pure potential. The underlying energy, substrate, bottom of everything. That's you. That is your true nature. That's what you're operating from. That's what you're looking at the world from that pure potential. And the world emanates in forms and shapes based on your story and beliefs from the pure potential. I look at the world, I know we're wrapping up, as Fantasy Island. I don't know if anyone saw, I think I mentioned this on Badcap. I look at the world, or what the Buddhists call samsara, the cyclic existence of reincarnation, or even our single life of our cyclic existence. Whether you want to look at our cyclic existence as reincarnation, or whether you just want to look at this one life as a complete repetition of the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, let's look at it this way. I look at just this one life, the life of Marc, as the TV show Fantasy Island. Again, I'm 52 years old, so I don't know if your audience remembers, but there's a TV show called Fantasy Island where you go on to an island, a beautiful island, and you get to live out your fantasy. They work out your fantasy. Whatever your fantasy is, if you want to have all the money in the world, all the girls in the world, all the food in the world, whatever your thing is, they give it to you. And so obviously it's an hour-long show. It's kind of dark and kind of scary because, as you could imagine, once you get your fantasy, you start to find out the good things that you wanted actually have negative consequences that you didn't anticipate. And so your fantasy becomes dark and scary. You get out at the end, you're like, whoa, thank God, I don't want that anymore. But what you do want now is, so let's say before you said, all I want is money. All I want is money. I want a life where I just get money. You get all the money, you find out, that's not it. It doesn't make me happiness. Love. I want love. You get the love. That's not it. All this world is like Fantasy Island, where you get what you want, you get what you want, but you find out what you want isn't really satisfying. It brought you no satisfaction. So you think, aha, now I want something else. And now your life is attaining that. And you find out that's not satisfying. And your life is just spinning from want to want to want to want to want. Fantasy Island, where you're constantly going to get what you want. So watch what you want. Be careful about what you want, because that is what you're going to manifest. And that's why I said, for me, to the highest one I could want is to not to want anything particular, just to train my mind so I can live in a world that's controlled by other people. So whatever conditions arise, I'll be in tune with, because I'm not wanting for myself. I'm surrendering. It's about giving your life to the universe and not wanting for yourself, and just trusting the universe, trusting that it does have a purpose and a meaning higher. Oops, my phone.
Hopefully still there. Is he? We'll see. I think there's technical. Wow, what an amazing conversation. So
Yeah.
Far, right?
Yeah, this is great.
I'm going to ask a question about control, about letting go control for life, and letting go control of the reality and allowing stuff to unfold the way that it is. So the question I'm going to ask him when he comes back, or when he shows up again, is, there we go. I'll be back. The question I have is in reference to letting go of control of your experience and allow the universe to experience, or to allow life to unfold the way that it is. Do you still make choices for your highest good in moments? So let's say if I let go of control, I don't need to be in control of these moments, and somebody comes to you and they attack you or something like that, like physically attack or verbally attack. Since I'm out of control, am I just going to allow myself to allow this experience to happen? Or if the experience happens, make a choice to do something to, like, take myself out of the equation type of thing. Or just sit in the space like, oh, you're attacking. You may be attacking my physical body, but I'm beyond that. I'm my spiritual body. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like with the story of Jesus, of during the whips and everything else that he went through, and he still loved. He didn't try to run away from it. He just went through the experience because he knew that, like, he was beyond the body. So, like, we're gonna. Oh, his phone died. So, so that's gonna be a good question, and we'll have a part 2. I'm gonna mention to Mark. He just sent me a message of a part 2 of this, in which I want to ask that question to him directly. And what Peter say?
These are the pop filters for our new mics,
oh, yeah.
Peter.
Yeah. So this is the thing about lives. And once again, we're going to bring it back home to what we were just talking about right before Mark's phone died, about letting the universe unfold and not be in control of it. So this is a perfect example. Amazing, powerful podcast conversation that we had. And the universe decided, okay, we're going to make the phone battery die. You're going to have just a set amount of time. And this is the way the universe is flowing right now for this moment. But this was very helpful information and amazing information. And those of you who are live, Peter, Yael, I forgot who else it was.
Marvin,
all of you showed up, and I hope you got something from this that you can incorporate in your own life. I know I got some nuggets for myself to integrate in.
Yeah.
What about you?
Likewise.
Okay. So we'll be back next week. And of course, until next time,
Stay magical.